What's going on, people? My name is Abhinav. Welcome to Talk to Salla. In today's episode, we've got Juhi Mydra with us. This is our second episode. I promised one episode a week, so here we are. I thought this episode's not going to happen because Juhi is really busy, very busy. She's like,
No.
पिछले 2 हफ्तों से she's like, I'm busy today. I'm busy today. All of a sudden, she sent me a message and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't write any questions. So I'm like, ठीक है अभी लिखेंगे questions. So I just prepared some. She is a production designer. She worked on some web series. She worked on some movies. And first off, we'd like to know what production design is, because even I don't know what production design is, even though I'm interested in film and all these things. I don't know what production design is. So, Julie, can you please tell us what production design is? And
Yes.
okay,
Yeah. So what production design is that when you watch a film, the sets that you see, the entire visual creation that you tend to not notice, but you also feel like, for example, if you're watching a period film and it's set in the 1970s or the 1980s, it just take like the costumes and the sets and everything. It just takes you or transform that transforms. It just
so
transports you to a certain place. So that plays a very major role to understand where and why the film and like where it's taking place.
so it's the job of the production designer to determine the costumes as well as how this set looks like.
No, only the set looks like.
Only what the
Only the
set
set.
looks like. So
Yeah,
costumes.
only what the set
So
looks.
who handles the
Is
costumes
it
side of the thing in movies and stuff?
So costumes is a completely different department altogether. So when you make a film, it's almost like 200 to 300 people working on this, like on one film.
Hmm.
And you have a different department for every single thing that you need. Like you want really good coffee made, you have an entire department that takes care of
Yeah, that's something that people don't notice. Whenever somebody
that.
talks
Yeah,
about a movie that's releasing, people are like, uh, "This actor's acting in it. Hey, Salman is acting or Ritik is acting. We wanna go watch the movie for Ritik or Salman. Dude, they
yeah,
perform so good. But you watch the set. Oh my god, that looks so good. That was worth it. Like
yeah,
the whole point will be about the actors, but people don't really
yeah,
notice the amount of people slash workers they put in to making that
yeah.
movie. So how much time
Correct.
does it take for somebody to set up this thing, a frame, a shot?
It really depends on what we're building, how we're shooting it, and like how much time is given to the art department to create it as well. Like what a schedule looks like. So, for example, if you watch something like Superman or something, really it's graphic work that happens like you shoot it with a green screen and then it's all done later in post. But then if you have a lot of things that needs to be built, it can sometimes take like a week or like it depends. It really depends on the size of the scale and what kind of set you want to like create.
So
But it takes an ample amount of time.
it takes an ample amount of time, but is there something like who allots this work to the production designer? Like, who's responsible for giving work to the production designer? Does the director give
Okay.
it, or does the producer?
Yeah. So the director, the cinematographer, and the producers, they all sit together and they decide. So director has a certain vision as to, okay, this is what we want, and maybe this is the red vase that we want to use because it maybe has a metaphorical meaning later in one of the scenes, and that is the reason we want a vase that looks exactly like this from this time period and has to have a certain meaning behind it or a certain painting on top of it. So then the vision comes from the director's perspective, and then you have the cinematographer explaining maybe we instead of red maybe we could try some other color because that might look better on screen, or like anything randomly like that. And not randomly, sorry, it's not random, it's coming straight from the idea, so it's not random. And then the production designer will step in and be like, you know what, hey, with the red vase, why don't we use these flowers, and like why don't we make it more appealing uh, to the viewer or to the audience. And that's how the entire all the departments work together, and that's how the final output comes.
So if you're working on a project, I assume that if you're supposed to shoot this particular room, I assume that you're
Right.
only going to cover a certain area of the room, or you're going to like deck up the entire room to make it feel like, suppose I'm a 22-year-old person who does gaming live streams. So
Right.
are you going to cover each and every single corner of this to suit the aesthetic of a 22-year-old? Or is it just going to be the things that are going to be in the camera's frame?
So now that again, that depends on how the director wants to shoot it and the cinematographer wants to shoot it. So before shooting an entire space or like a specific location, you have something called as a shooting space mapped out. And
Okay.
if it's only a certain degrees that you want to shoot, like the certain 180 degrees you want to shoot, then only like let's say like a a certain part of the room is shot and the rest of it is just made out of like empty space for the cameras to
Okay.
move. And then there's again another part of shooting that is 360 degrees, or it's called realism, where you have where the camera can move like any side of the room. So you need to keep it all clear and keep it all functioning. That means it has to all like 360 degrees need to be a
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of the set. So that again differs on the direction.
So once the director slash producer, whoever gives you the requirements, and you guys build the set, does it
Right.
change over time? Like, does the director get some other thoughts and he's like, can you please change this
Oh
part?
yes. Always. So there's always these last moment changes and requirements that happens on the set. For example, it's not like very big changes. Like we have like very minute changes where maybe we do not want this tissue box there, or like maybe the wall color is not working out for us, and all of that. There's always, because when you're a creator, you can never have anything perfect decided right before time, unless your camera comes on set and your frame is set, and then you're looking through a lens, to see if it's just right. Because sometimes, and that's okay, because sometimes the way you think about it in your head, the way you map it out in your head, it might just not translate very clearly on the screen sometimes. So yeah, those last moment tweaks, like maybe an actor does not have to enter from this area, like from this side, can also happen from this side. So like those kind of changes usually tend to happen, and accordingly the set also moves for them. So
And
it's to the convenience of the actor. Yeah.
and when it comes to this thing, designing the set, what kind of materials are used? Like, do you use real world materials, or do you try to use
Mm,
something that are like pseudo that material? Because
yes.
especially in Indian movies, you see a lot of walls breaking, you see a lot of people flying away.
Yeah. True. uh, I mean, Indian or even not. Like sometimes if it's a real location, you're working with like real walls and everything else. But then there are times when you have to like build an entire fake room. So you will. So first thing about production design is that anything that's built is completely temporary. Anything and everything that you see on the set is all temporary. Even if you're going to see like a cupboard, it's going to be hollow from the inside. Or if you're going to see a chest of drawers, it's not going to have like anything on the inside. Or it's just a dummy, or it's like, it's just carved that way, but you just can't really open the drawer. So there are like a lot of things that uh, you see, but it's just not real.
Because I remember once my 12th was over, I went to a film school. I was like, I'm going to join a filmmaking course. And I know that guy who
You
was
should.
showing the place around. He was like, everything you see on the movie is fake. Every single thing.
Everything is.
I was like,
Yeah.
dude, I don't believe you. Then he showed me some parts of that studio, and I was like, okay, now I get it. So,
Yeah, it's very astonishing that when you actually get to go on the set and you're just like, wait, like this is completely different. This room is like completely different, and
yeah.
you're just like, the shoot is happening on the same day. Like, what is happening? So
And
yeah, it's
are
fun.
there times when there are two different projects sharing the same location?
Usually, if it's a big scale project and if the scale of the location is very small, I usually that's not allowed, because you're working with 200 to
Yeah,
300
yeah.
people on the same day. So it's really not feasible. But unless the location is like massive, like really, really massive, then maybe people tend to like film cities and everything else. People tend to share the location.
So, can you just tell us about some of the projects you've worked on so far?
Yeah. So I graduated in 2019 from Symbiosis, which is an amazing school. It's not a paid promotion, but I love the college that I went to. And after that, I worked in Hyderabad for 3 months, and then I got this beautiful project in Bombay. Thankfully, I was a part of it, and I was assisting Miss Anna Ipe, and she's a wonderful production designer. And I got to learn a lot from her and the rest of the team. So we worked on Aarya, the web series, which Mr. Ramadhani was the director, and it was like amazing working with each and every one on the team because there was so much to learn from like everyone, and they've all got like 17 to 20 years of experience, and I was just a new person like right out of college. So it was just like wow, like everything was crazy.
So,
The work life there is very, 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 very fast, so you
so
have to like,
if anybody
keep
wants
it
to become
going.
a production designer, do they need a specific degree, or having real world skills is going to help them out? Is a degree
I
really
think
necessary for them?
no, not really. As long as I don't think for being a production designer, you need a degree. As long as you can understand, if you're really creative and you can understand color really well, if you can understand space really well, if you can understand material, like raw materials really well, and if you're like a person who can do a lot of jugaad and who's like really smart, who can like get solutions on the spot, I think you're the right person to be in the art department.
Because according to me, if you get a degree, you have that backup kind of thing. Ki, I've done this,
Definitely,
and
definitely.
because if somebody's m- it's basically the same for any job. If you first do a couple of
Yeah,
gigs and
yeah,
you go to the third gig, people will be like, "Ha, isne ye do kiye hai, so he
yeah,
can
yeah,
do this," and they
yeah.
literally forget to check you have a degree or not. They just look at your experience, and maybe your
Agreed.
work is going to speak for you. So, talking about
Definitely.
degree, you said you studied in Symbiosis. Which degree did you get in
Yes.
Symbiosis? Like,
So I studied BA Mass Communication from Symbiosis, and my major was audio visuals. That's filmmaking. So we got to learn a lot of different aspects of filmmaking and cinema, such as screenplay writing, and you have direction, introduction to scenic design, and sound design, and a lot of other aspects that you like, even production, how to be a good producer and whatnot. And yeah, and then we also have like other departments such as advertising, public relations, and journalism. And we were like four different classrooms that, in the last year of the college, all the AV students, so we were 40 of us, and everybody's supposed to write a script and everybody's supposed to submit it. So after submitting, only eight best scripts are chosen, and those eight scripts are turned into the film. So like whoever's written it gets to direct it. So after directing it, you get to pick members from the same classroom to be a cinematographer, a production designer, or like you do the producing of it. And then after finishing the film, you get to work with the advertising, public relations, and the journalism class to like build a hype around the film that you're making, to create that like the marketing perspective of it and as how you would sell your film. And yeah, it was a mad project that we all, like the entire batch, comes together to work on, and it's beautiful. Then we have a screening, and then it's just lovely.
okay, so the screening happens only in Symbiosis, like the
Yeah,
project that
it
you've done,
happens. Yeah.
and you
Yes.
got to bring in the students from the college itself.
Yeah, like you just tell everybody that, hey, we're doing the final screening, and everybody is very excited because everybody wants to see what the seniors have worked on and what kind of films have come out to criticize or to even love it or whatever. And everybody's there to like, root for you and to like support you. So that's very, very
That's
beautiful of like all the students.
that sounds a lot of fun because uh, I've been through engineering, and in engineering, you have to do a project, and usually it's like five
Yeah,
people, and it's not like a
yeah,
huge project wherein the entire batch works on the same thing. It's like five
yeah,
people work on one project, five people work on the other.
yeah,
That
yeah,
sounds really
yeah.
exciting. So, talking about
Yeah.
going to Symbiosis, was it the first time you were outside, like outside Hyderabad?
Yes, this was the first time I was outside Hyderabad. I mean, I left home, and I think it was definitely one of the best decisions I've ever made. And it definitely did change me as a person. I don't think I was an extrovert before going to Symbiosis. I was still shy compared to like a lot of my classmates then, but now I think I'm like confident enough to like go up to people and have a certain conversation when it comes to work and everything else. So like yeah, it's been good. I'm sure like a lot of my skills have been brushed like thoroughly.
Yeah, go. I mean, leaving home is something that is exponentially going to change the way you look at the world, because
Definitely.
the first time I left home was in 11th, I believe. Yeah, after school, my parents threw me in a
Mhm.
boarding school for my 11th and
That's
12th, and
fun.
I was not happy at all. The first 1 month I was just crying. I was like, मेरे को नहीं रहना है यहाँ पे. I want to come home. I
Yeah.
even ran away from the hostel. I came home running away from the hostel, and I was
Okay.
like, no,
Mhm.
this is not working. And then after like 2 3 years, I settled in, and I was like, dude, why was I trying to run away from this?
Exactly.
I'm
It's
having
so
a
good.
hell lot of fun. Like after those 2 years, those 2 years have been the most memorable moments of my life. So, have you had something like starting when you just shifted to the hostel? Were you staying in a hostel, or were you just staying
Yes,
in?
yes, I was. I was. The first year I stayed in the hostel.
So, what was that experience like when you first went in that
Um,
hostel room, entered to the hostel room?
so I've always had my own room. So I have a problem sharing my space with people. Like I really do. I still do. Which with which like I get into a lot of fights because like I need my things to be a certain way, and like I like to keep things in a certain manner, and the positions can't change. So I'm like that freak in the group, yeah. And so I was like really scared of sharing my space with somebody for the first time ever, and it's a new city. I did not know anybody there, and I was like, learning how to adjust. I think that really helped me that 1 year, as to like who I shared my room with, and we had become such amazing friends, and we were like always together. And my room was in the first floor, and we had, and it's amazing. Like I feel like girls are such amazing people in general, that they're always very supportive, and you literally have like they have your back no matter what, and that's the best thing. And I think I made a lot of friends, and I've had my best friends are like, she was literally like my I met her because she was my neighbor. Like she was the next room. She was in the next room, and we had like these balconies connected. And she would just drop by, and I'm just like, who is this person? Like just dropping by, and then she's like, hi, what's up? Like, and we chill, and that's how I became best friends with her, and that's still going strong. So yay.
You're like, you're saying you have a personal room, you have a room for yourself. When I was in hostel, I had to share it with 6 people, and over the course of time,
Whoa, I would not do
that
that. I would
became
not be able to do that.
that became 8 people by the end of my intermediate. I was sharing a room with 8 people, and we had only one washroom. So 8 people had to use one washroom, and there was nothing such as personal space when it came to my hostel
I'm
experience.
sure.
and
Yeah,
uh, and in that span I actually started, personal space ghanta. Nobody cares about personal space. We used to keep a section of our room wherein we used to throw all our clothes. So if anybody wants to wear
okay,
something,
yeah, that's fine.
we just pick it up from that. And one day my friend's dad came in, and he was like, kya chal raha hai yahan pe? What is all this?
Like what's
I'm like,
happening? Yeah.
I'm like, and that day actually I had some injury, sports injury. My friend had a sports injury, and we were both sleeping, and his dad came in, and the room was completely messy, and I was like, bro,
What
wake
the
up.
fuck? Like you gotta clean
Uh,
up. Yeah.
my uncle was like, you people won't change. Leave it.
No.
Then I was like, that
Yeah.
the, those things do happen. Like when you're staying in hostel, you meet people, you
Yeah.
meet their
This.
parents, you meet everybody. Everybody wants to
Yeah.
complain, and you make
Yeah.
some of the best friends when you're in hostel.
Best.
Some
Best.
of the best
Best.
friends, because
Like.
I rarely hang around with my school friends nowadays. I just play football with probably for JK friends and
Yeah.
Andrew's people also. I think both of
Okay.
them are together. And I usually hang out with my hostel friends only. I never hang out with anybody outside my hostel circle. So I'm like, that creates some kind of a bond when
Yeah, I think you become like you change from like from school to college. So it's like life is giving you another opportunity, like become a different person, maybe like to learn from all the mistakes that you do in school and maybe not do that in college. And like I don't know, it just helps you change your perspective about people and adjusting and personal space, how to respect other people, and how to probably like live close by and not even offend them at the same time, and to actually respect them is something what I've learned. Like that is very important. I mean, when it's at our house, yeah, there is a certain way like you speak to your parents and you speak to your siblings or whatever. But you can't really be the same way outside, even if it's like your friends. But I feel like you start respecting boundaries is something what I've learned very
we just went on a train of thought, like that's completely off this
much.
podcast.
Different.
Yeah, but you know what? You joined a non-STEM course. It's an arts course, right? It's Symbiosis. It's
Yeah,
not a STEM
yeah,
course,
yeah.
right? It's not a engineering or doctor kind of course. How did you convince your parents कि मुझे ये करना है?
Um,
Because when it came to me, I had no power. They just threw me in engineering, even though I wanted to get into an art course.
I'll actually tell you, there've been a lot of like these conversations, like because people tend to think, like parents tend to think, or elders in general in your family tend to think like you don't know any better because you're just like 15, 16 trying to figure your life out. But I think for me, I've always known what I wanted to do since ninth grade. Like I knew it in ninth grade that cinema is where I'm supposed to land in. So when 10th was done, I never really like showed any interest in science. But my dad was crazy about me joining IIT because my family literally produces a lot of engineers. So yeah, so I was like one of the first people to like not take it, and I was like as a child. So my dad was like, "Oh my god, I'm not going to talk to you, and this and that. I'm not going to pay your college fee." And I'm just like, and my mom was quite supportive. She was like, "You know what? Let her do what she wants to do. I'm sure she'll be fine." So I think having the support from my mom was like very important, and I'm glad she understood that. So till date I really give it to her for like just like believing in me and thinking that yeah, I can do whatever I've chosen to do. And yeah, and then when I got into symbiosis, because I did not get into the other two colleges that I wanted to actually get into. I did not believe it because like I kept refreshing the page, saying like you got in, you got in, you got in. And then in the morning, when I showed my mom and dad, they were like, they were stunned, like they were like, they did not believe that I actually got in.
Hmm.
So I was like, yeah, this happened. So I think it's time to go. It's time to like leave home. And I was very excited about like leaving Hyderabad, like very much. Not like I hate it, but I just wanted to change. So definitely.
Especially we've studied in Fiji, which is supposed to like its name contains
Yeah,
IIT JEE,
IIT, exactly.
and you went into an arts course, and that's really cool. Because I couldn't convince my parents for dog shit कि मेरे को करना है ये नहीं, you're going into engineering.
Like I think my mom and dad have been really chill about it too, because they've never been like you have to do science, you have to do science, you have to do science. Because as a child, like I've always shown more interest in a lot of co-curricular activities more than actually like sitting and studying. So I think they've seen that in me, and I was very rebellious. Like if they would not let me go do like a volunteering gig on a Sunday to a zoo, I would just like have that. I'm just like I'm going. Like I'm gonna go. I'm gonna They'll be like, no, I'm not going to drop. I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to just like take a bus and I'm going to take myself there, like, yeah, like I just did stand on what I wanted, like pretty strongly. And they were like, yeah, there's no fighting this. So we should just like let her be. So that's
That's
something,
that's cool.
yeah, like they've
And you
also compromised
and
somewhere.
you got into the college that you thought you're not going to get
Yeah, that,
into.
yeah, exactly. And I was so
so
happy. I'm so happy.
so does Symbiosis, like, what ranking does Symbiosis fall in when it comes to media
I
studies
think
and
it's
these? It's in the top
India's
10.
number one right
Top
now.
India's number
It's
one. Oh my god, that's
yeah,
I
yeah.
have zero clue when it comes to these
For
stuff.
media it is, yeah. Because
Symbiosis.
yeah, when you get out of the industry, you find the industry flooded with Symbiosis students, and and I'm very proud of it because I feel like Symbiosis students are really good at what they do. That's also because of how we were trained to get into this world with this a lot of pressure. Okay, like being in a film industry is not really easy because there's zero personal life to begin with. There's no time for yourself because if you're not if you're working on a set, it's just 18 hours of it a day, like 18 to 14 to 18 hours just spending right there. And for the next 6 to 7 months, like these people are your family. You eat with them, you travel with them, you work with them. Like that's what it becomes. And you just might just go home sometimes to like just chill and get a change of clothes, but otherwise it's a very tough place to be in mentally because you need that time off. You don't really get it when you're working on a project like that. But otherwise, it's fun.
See, we went on another train of thought. We were
Exactly.
talking
I
about
forgot. I
Symbiosis.
forgot. I forgot what my point was. I didn't want
Okay,
to
so
admit
would
it.
you recommend Symbiosis to somebody who's just passing out their 12th grade and their
Yes, definitely.
Symbiosis? So, what
Definitely.
exam should they
If you
take if
want
they
to
want to get into Symbiosis?
so you have SET, that is, I forgot the abbreviation of it, but
Symbiosis
it's
entrance
this
test.
entrance.
De do.
Yeah,
Symbiosis
yeah, yeah,
entrance
yeah.
test.
Entrance test.
Oh
Yes,
my god.
correct. You have Symbiosis entrance test. Please cut that. It's very embarrassing. Sorry.
This
SET.
will
You
stay.
have an SET to take. No, guys, I was
Oh.
not a management student. I won the seat. I won my place fair and square. Just keep putting it out there. But yeah, like you have an SET exam to take, and then once you clear it, you have a round of what do you call it? Assessment tests that you have, like a group test, and then they see how you perform in a group, and then you have if you clear like 3 rounds, I think, and then you have a interview, and then once you finish the interview, then they let you know if you're in or not. So it's a long process. So be ready for it though, if you wanna get
So
into
if
some
anybody
license.
wants to get into film world or journalism, just get into Symbiosis,
Yeah.
take the SCT, and please tell me what SCT means.
Rice's entrance test. Hey, I know one question that actually comes every year in an SAT. I still remember this.
Guaranteed marks
Is
question.
guaranteed marks? Yeah, it's the slogan of Symbiosis, and they ask you what it means, which I completely
Wow.
forgot.
Guaranteed question to mil gaya hai. We don't know the answer.
Guaranteed
You guys
question.
have to figure it out. Homework samjho. So, what is Juhi doing right now? Ki, ab kya kar rahi hai?
So yeah, so after working in Bombay, worked on a few projects there, and then pandemic happened. Unfortunately, my life was just starting. It was just working out for me. I was just trying to make it work in Bombay, but then pandemic happened, so I couldn't afford staying in Bombay. So I had to come back home, and couldn't. And the industry wasn't starting because of the corona cases, and you know how scary it is for the film industry to like even begin with. And then because we couldn't work from home, for this you have to be on set,
Yeah.
and not and because you can't have a lot of people on the set anymore, the team was being cut down, so like not a lot of people were being appointed for the work. So then I couldn't sit at home. like not doing anything. Then I started my company. It's called Passel Productions,
Passel
and
Productions,
we
plug,
do.
plug, plug.
Yes, it's called Passel Production, and we do everything from branding, advertising, digital marketing, content creation, content production, and events. And on the side, I still do what I love, that is production designing. I do commercials in Hyderabad now, and I do creative direction for like brands, etc. And yeah, so
So, what
it's working out
brands
really
have
well
you
for
been
me.
working on so far?
So I recently worked with this brand called Costume, and it's a textile industry. And then I'm working with Tabula Rasa right now. We do events for them, and
Yeah,
there
I've
are a
seen
few
that.
more brands.
Every Sunday you post something. Tabula Rasa. You
Yeah,
post
it's
something that's
Tabula.
going on. There's some market or something. What's that? Like, I'd like to know more about that. Every
Yeah, so
Sunday I open my Instagram, I see Juhi posting something about that place.
Tabula. Okay, so we had come up with this concept of doing flea markets at a club. Okay, like a really nice space. But the entire market, or sorry, the entire concept of having a flea market was again to bring up the local brands and to promote sustainability and the homegrown brands. So, but I think right now, yeah, that's about it. Yeah. And I think that's going pretty well. So now we do one flea market a month because the idea has been very saturated. Everybody else has started doing it in the city. No complaining, but okay, I get original, but okay, that.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's yeah.
So when it comes to Passel Productions, do you have a team with you, or is it like you a one man show or one woman show? Sorry.
Uh, so right now I have my friend Siddharth who works on the entire PR and the promotion part of it, and I take care of the graphic design, the media part of it, basically, and ideating and all of that. So we work as a team for now.
So is just two people in the company, or
It's just two of us. Yes, it's just two of us.
and do you hire freelancers when you're working on a project?
Yeah, when we're working on a project like such as creative direction, etc. When we're creating content for the other brands, that's when like I work with freelancers. I can't afford in-house people yet. So yeah, I think the best way to go about it is working with freelancers.
So you hire freelancers. So if somebody wants to work, like what kind of people do you hire? Are there like do you hire photographers, cinematographers? Like
Yeah,
what category?
I have a lot of people I want to work with, like such as photographers. Now, for example, if I'm working with a certain brand, like recently I worked with this brand called Justine and Rishika, and they have an amazing collection of clothes that they had come up with. So we shot for 6 collections, and it's like the kind of style that I want to get. This kind of idea that there is that I want to like portray or like click. What do I'm losing out on a word here. Um, kind of
Concept.
style that I envision or a concept, I guess. So I try to work with people who come in the same category. Like if somebody is really a brilliant flat lay photographer, I would want to work with them. I wouldn't want a flat lay photographer clicking portraits or like doing a fashion brand. If somebody is really great at working around food, then that's when like I would want to work with that person.
So if you're a photographer, you know whom to DM. मेरे को डीएम करो मैं अपना कट लेके उसको बताऊंगा ठीक है ना okay
Works.
so is managing people easy or is it really stressful? Are you used to managing people right now? Because
Yeah, like working with people is very annoying, honestly, because I'm going to be very candid about it because I feel like there's a lot of ego that comes in between. There's a lot of unnecessary entitlement that people have. Then they get annoyed if you're rude to them because they do not understand the first time you tell them something, or even that is okay. Like it's fine if you do not understand something, but then do not be an asshole about it. You get it? Like We can work things out. We can try and not waste time, because everybody is working on a clock, right? Like everybody's giving up
Every
their time,
Yeah,
time
everybody
and
has
effort.
deadlines
Like
to meet also.
exactly. So you just can't like delay on work till like the last moment and then expect like things to change. That's not gonna happen. And then, if the content like does not come out the way you vision it, then you can't cry about it like at all, because that's not how it's gonna work. And
Because I tried my hand. I thought I'll offer photography services for events and whatnot. I went on. We
right.
did a couple of shoots for like some restaurants and some parties,
Hmm.
and we were like, "ये नहीं होगा मेरे साथ."
Right.
I can't deal with people, like especially not just the people I'm bringing in. I can't even deal with my clients. So I'll be like,
No.
he wants some kind
Eh,
of output, and the money he's paying
true.
doesn't match that.
It never matches. It never really matches, because exactly that's the thing. The client, they have a vision, a beautiful vision, not saying anything about it, but the kind of budget that they offer, it just feels like they do not respect the work that you do,
Yeah,
and unless a client understands what you're doing, and unless they really really respect what you do, I don't think you can deliver the kind of content in the most cheapest rates that they ask you to do it. And I think that's something what clients really need to start understanding, that you can't really get like the best out of the best, like in the most minimum ways that you
yeah.
like
There was this one
give out.
project I was working on. I was working for a restaurant. We had to take pictures of food plus the ambience.
Yeah,
We took the
yeah.
pictures, we uploaded them onto the drive, and those are
Hmm.
all raw files. We told them we have to edit them, then we'll show it to you. And they're like, नहीं,
Sure
हमें
thing.
raw
Yeah.
files ही देखना है. So हमने उनको drive link
Okay.
भेज दिया है. And we were at the restaurant. We had some small work to do. We were there, and he was like, "Sir, ये सारे blur आ गए photos." I'm just
Okay.
looking at the phone. I'm like, a raw file takes time to process. It doesn't
Time
just
to,
load.
yeah, yeah,
I was like,
yeah, yeah.
sir रुको 2 मिनट रुको. He's like, blur आ गए फोटोस, अब सारे फिर से निकालो. I'm like, इससे थोड़ी ना होता है.
Yeah, like
पूरा
he's like zero patient.
हाँ. और उसके बाद the other guy came in. There were two owners for that restaurant. The other guy came in. He's like, dark है ये photos, brighten up कर दो. उसका phone battery saver पे था. I'm like, आप रुको जरा. Wait for me to give you the finished product. उसके बाद कुछ complaints है तो बताओ. I was like, this is that was so stressful. I was like, नहीं करना है मुझे ये. I'd rather work for somebody like
Yeah.
Juhi. Juhi is doing something. मैं Juhi के पास जाके I'll work for her rather than dealing with the client. I'm like, ये मेरे साथ नहीं
Oh my God.
होगा.
Uh,
So
Dealing with clients is, you need like a special level of patience while talking to them, for sure, for
and
sure.
and how does
The way you pitch it
hmm,
is really matters. The way you pitch it, yeah.
and how does managing money go around? Because the first project I worked on, I lost 2,000 rupees of my money.
Mhm.
I gave them, I got the payment, everything is over. After everything is over, I'm like, shit, bro, I actually lost 2,000 rupees. I didn't gain anything from this.
Yeah, so that happens. So, this is something what a lot of my friends have taught me as well, along the way. Even when like you first start working out, you do end up losing a lot of money. That's also because I'm not very careful when it comes to finances. But I've started learning how to do it, like per project, or per month. Like you start, writing things down, and like you know where you're spending as a company, where your money needs to go, where it's coming in, where it's going, and when it comes to a certain project, you need to be very clear with your client, and you need to like really give out your budgets like beforehand, even if it's about travel, even if it's about food, even the tiniest of the details that you need to purchase as like a creator. You need to have all of that written down in invoice beforehand, like way beforehand, before you lock down a certain budget with them. And that's how you will not end up losing any money.
Because the first time I worked on something,
Yeah.
I called my friend. He's like, I'll arrange the cinematographer. I'll arrange him. I'm like, ये सब नहीं चाहिए हमें, दो बंदे जाएंगे खींच के आ जाएंगे. He's like, नहीं, I'll arrange this guy, I'll arrange that
Mm.
guy. We arranged stuff, and he also brought in his car, and we had to go
Oh, okay.
outside the city. We didn't
Right.
factor in the fuel cost. we didn't factor in कि हमें उनको वापस ड्रॉप करना है. We thought we'll after the
Right.
shoot is over we'll stay at the party, सुबह निकलेंगे. नहीं,
Yeah.
the cinematographer is like, I need to go back home. उसके कैब के
Yeah.
पैसे.
Yeah.
Everything starts adding up and I was like, shit यार, ऐसे नहीं.
Yeah.
First be frank with the client as well as your people. कि
Yes.
हम
Always.
we
Like
are only going to
transparency
leave
is
at
very
this point of
important.
time. And I'm like, ठीक है
Yeah.
भाई, I don't want to deal with these people. मेरे को करना है तो I'll do it on my own. Otherwise, I won't do anything. So when it comes to Passel Productions, where do you think it's headed? कि end goal क्या है Passel
So
Productions का?
the end goal is definitely to make movies and like to work on web series and to make a lot of films because that's my roots and I wanna, touch there. But I also want to be a really good. I want to be a really. How do I get that? I wanted to be a strong media house that caters to not only the general public, not even, actually, I'm not even looking at the general or the commercial side of it. And I wanted to go into complete niche in the art side of the cinema and to cater to something what the topics or the issues that we need to be like covering as an industry,
But
and I think India is doing really great with it as of now.
if you
The kind of
niche
content that's
down,
coming out.
if you niche down, there's also this problem wherein the market shrinks.
Okay, so I'll tell you this one thing that I always like, follow by. It says one for the kitchen and one for the soul, and I abide by this rule till date because I've done a lot of projects that just pay me good, so that's okay because that's how I pay my bills. And then there are projects where I just want to be on it even if I don't get paid or if even if I'm getting paid really less because I know it's worth something and it's maybe worth more than what I want to do. So that's how like you try and keep your balance because you can't really be very charitable enough to like work on brilliant projects to not earn anything, otherwise you can't pay your bills. So you have to understand and like draw a line somewhere. Or balance. I think balancing is the best way to go about it.
Is there any
Balance in the project.
is there any movie slash web series you're watching right now, or you would like
Watching?
to recommend something to the audience?
Oh yes, definitely. Okay, so I recently watched this animated film called Bombay Rose on Netflix, and I've not come across a film like this in a very long time. At least like the content that I've been watching, and I think it's an animated film to begin with. It's a female director, and she's written it so well. She's worked on it on every character in such great depth. The music is worth. I think the film. I have no comments or like I can't even express how beautiful the film made me feel, or the kind of emotions or the kind of depth it like made me feel. So yeah, Bombay was something that you should
Bombay Rose
definitely
on
watch.
Netflix. So if you guys
Yes,
want to watch
yeah,
what Juhi likes, you can go check out Bombay Rose on
Bombay
Netflix.
Rose. Yeah.
Okay, so we've been on this for like almost 50 minutes now. we thought
Awesome.
we thought we,
We
we thought
should.
we'll end it at 45 minutes, but we are at 50 minutes. Anyways, and so we didn't realize that time just flew away. Anyways,
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
have any questions for me? If you have any questions,
Yes,
hmm,
Abhinav, what are you doing now? So
right
how's
now,
the gaming going?
I'm just working on producing content
Oh,
for YouTube, but that's not going on
awesome.
schedule because the
That's
thing about
okay.
working for yourself is you
Hmm.
forget that deadlines exist, especially when you're doing YouTube stuff.
High
It's
five.
like
I
आज
agree.
नहीं कल रिकॉर्ड करूंगा मैं आज का
Mm.
स्क्रिप्ट में ना ये लाइन अच्छा नहीं है tomorrow I'll record it. Gaming
Yeah.
is something that I'm doing as I am addicted to gaming. Whenever I play video games, I'm like I just play for hours together. Then I thought ki, bhai yaar, if I'm playing games for hours together, why don't I just stream it? at least
So
at
so
least
what,
kuch
what
to aa raha hai. At least you're making
so what
something
game
out
are
of
you
it.
playing right now?
I'm playing Apex Legends. It's like PUBG, but it's a
Okay.
way better version. than
Okay.
PUBG because I don't play PUBG. And that's the reason my gaming channel is not growing. Not because you people are not subscribing. That's the reason it's not growing. I'm playing Apex Legends. If you people subscribe, I don't know. I don't know if people are going to subscribe to it. I'm not sure about that.
I
So
hope, guys, please subscribe to
so
Abhinav
now
Salla's gaming
gaming
channel.
gaming is something that I'm into, and right now I'm working on like tech videos. I'm thinking about making tech videos because that's probably
Awesome.
something that I'm into at the moment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that was almost like okay. Now we touched the 50-minute mark. My 45 minutes for goal. That's how we touched. Okay, so that was our podcast, guys. If you want to check out Juhi Mydra, her links will be down in the description. And most probably, you're not here for checking her out. Up uske usse, you're coming to watch me. So, मुझे subscribe करो. She doesn't need
Please
all that.
subscribe to
उसका तो
him.
startup है.
Yeah, I
मेरा
don't.
कुछ भी नहीं है.
You're embarrassing me
Entrepreneur
now.
Juhi. Okay, let's just end.
Who knew? Imagine back when like we were in Fiji. Like who knew?
Juhi entrepreneur. Anyways, I'm glad something's working out for you. ठीक है.
Something is working on.
Let's
Yeah.
end this. Subscribe करनो. I don't care. Subscribe तो करना चाहिए बस.
Subscribe to Abhinav's YouTube channel, guys.
Okay, bye bye.